The World Health Organization released an updated list of vaccine candidates that are under development for COVID-19. And the number of these vaccines have jumped from 5 a month ago to 16 that are now under clinical evaluation stage. Though the number of vaccines that are developed for COVID-19 has gone up, they're still at the various stages of trial. We take a look at companies whose results are expected in the next few months that would give us some indication on the effectiveness of these candidates and how soon are we in getting these vaccines. In normal times, and you ask any pharma companies who work on vaccines, they will tell you that it takes minimum 5 to 10 years for a vaccine to reach into a production and marketing stage. 5 to 10 years. Usually, the vaccine development works with an animal stage, which is a preclinical stage where you test the vaccine on an animal and see if it's effective or not. Then it moves on to clinical stage, which is a phase 1 trial, where you take a small number of human population and you try and inject them. It's usually between 10 to 50. These numbers vary, but that's the phase 1 trial. This phase 1 usually, and I'm talking about normal days, takes anywhere between 1 year to 2 years, because you have to keep tracking the people whom you have injected the vaccine, if they have developed any side effects and so on and so forth. And then you go on to phase 2, where you expand the number of people who have received the vaccine. And then there is phase 3, where you expand, where the sample size becomes a couple of thousands. But with COVID-19, things are different. Drug companies have fast-tracked and they have jumped several loops, which would have otherwise taken years to reach. So we have seen in some cases where companies perhaps have jumped from animal trial directly to human phase. And this is something that's still up for debate, that should we compromise the quality clinical trial standards just to get a vaccine faster. This is a debate that's going on in the scientific world, and this will continue. Now let's look at the vaccine candidates and the companies who are developing this. Number 1 in the list, and it's been talked about a lot across the world, is the vaccine candidate developed by University of Oxford, and which has been taken for the commercial stage by Swedish and British drug maker AstraZeneca. This week, the human trial in patients in South Africa and Brazil will start, and they're already in phase 3 of the clinical development stage. We'll see new data emerging from University of Oxford and AstraZeneca by end of this July. So that's something that's been most eagerly awaited. This is one candidate to watch out for. Next, a company that is developing this is Beijing Institute of Technology and biotech firm CanSino. Recently, this was earlier this week, we had the announcement that CanSino has started administering this vaccine among the military in China. We are still waiting for the results that to come in. CanSino has also tied up with the Canadian government, where the first phase of the trial has started in 125 subjects who have received the vaccine. Now we have to see how this is going to progress going forward, but it's already been administered in the military in China. The next candidate, which is again coming from a Chinese company, that is Sinopharm and Sinovac. So in the entire vaccine landscape, the Chinese companies are also leading the race. There are almost 4 Chinese companies who are in the advanced stage of vaccine development. Sinopharm and Sinovac are other 2 companies whose vaccine are also in phase 1 and 2, and they will be soon expanding their trial size in this month. So July is a very critical month for all the vaccine developers, because they're going to advance their vaccine candidates. They're going to administer it to several thousand patients. The other vaccine, which is again is eagerly watched out, is the candidate by US drug maker Moderna. We have spoken about this in the past. This is again a closely watched vaccine for COVID-19. The trial is in the phase 2. And Moderna recently has tied up with a company called CATALENT that would support the production of the initial 100 million doses of vaccine candidate for US market. So their phase 3 study will have 10,000 participants, and again this will start off in July. These are the companies that have advanced their vaccine in phase 2, phase 3 trial, which perhaps gives an indication that we will get to know in a couple of months' time if these vaccines work or not. Where are Indian players in the vaccine development stage? India's Department of Biotechnology has supported almost 5 Indian companies to develop their vaccines. We heard this week, Bharat Biotech, they said that they have started the human trial of their vaccine. This means that again, few patients have been picked up. This is phase 1 trial, and Bharat Biotech has begun the phase 1 trial of its own COVID-19 vaccine. There is Serum Institute that is also under the vaccine development phase. Serum also has several other partnerships with other international companies where they have said that they will be manufacturing large doses of vaccine. For example, they have tied up with AstraZeneca, where they will be manufacturing 400 million doses of vaccine by end of this year. If this vaccine succeeds, if the Oxford vaccine succeeds, they will develop 400 million doses for the Indian market. The other companies in India are Zydus Cadila. They are also working on the vaccine development. We don't have a new update from Zydus yet on how far is their vaccine, but what we understand from our sources is that they should also soon announce their phase 1 study. It should coming up in the next couple of months, hopefully. The other company is Pune-based Genova, who are also working on a vaccine for COVID-19. The biggest question that still remains is that who will get the vaccine first? We are talking about 5 billion population across the world, and we are talking about right now just 5 companies manufacturing these or developing these vaccines. The big question that is that who is going to manufacture the millions of doses that is required to administer to? Does it mean that rich countries will get the vaccine first because they have funded several companies who are currently developing these vaccines? For example, United States has given close to $1 billion amount, or has committed $1 billion amount to companies like AstraZeneca as a milestone payment. If they ensure that the vaccine gets developed, they will get the vaccine first. The other factor is more on the health basis. This is something which most scientists and doctors also agree, is that the vulnerable should be getting the vaccine first. The healthcare workers should be getting the vaccine first, because they are the one who are on the front line of the disease, and they are the one who need it the most. So the second part, after the whole financial consideration comes, is that who needs the vaccine most. And if we kind of keep that order, it's the healthcare workers, it's the elderly, it's the immunocompromised who should be getting the vaccine first when and if it gets developed. Realistically speaking, most experts and most scientists will tell you that we are seeing perhaps a vaccine coming into the administration stage not before early 2021. Anything that comes before that is a bonus, but a very realistic and optimistic scenario, even if you want to take that, it's still 2021. We are talking about still 6 months for a vaccine to actually hit the stage where people can use it. It's still a big deal. Because Ebola, for the Ebola disease, it took almost 5 years for a vaccine to get developed. With COVID, it's happened in 12 months. It was Jan 2020 when we first heard about the disease, and within a month's time, you had companies rushing and started working on the vaccines. So even if you're talking about a 12-month time frame, it is still a big achievement if we make it, if we kind of come up with a vaccine for COVID-19.